Today we're looking at course settings in Canvas. So to get to the settings for any course, if you look on the far left, it's usually at the very bottom of that list of blue things. If you don't see that list, it's because the three lines up here are clicked or unclicked. So if you click that, they'll open back up and we can go to settings. Now in here, there's going to be a lot of extraneous things that would only come into play if you're doing something super advanced. So most of this is not going to, or a large chunk of it anyway, is not going to apply to the vast majority of us. But I will talk about the big things that definitely do affect everyone. So first off is the image. So first of all, you'll notice I'm in our Canvas Basics and Assessments course, and I've intentionally left the image part blank, specifically so that whenever we got around to this, I could go ahead and add that, and you can see. Realistically, I probably should have just thrown it in anyway and then removed it for the video, but you know, thinking requires effort. So if you want to put in an image, first thing you have to do is have the image. So you can download whatever image you want. You can make it. As long as it's in some kind of standard image format, you're good. And these images, by the way, if I go back up to the dashboard real quick, the image that you're going to put in here is the image that you would see pop up. So all of my other courses, they have some kind of image on them. But if you'll, as you probably noticed throughout the term, the Canvas Basics and Assessments has just been a blank tile with a color. So we're going to actually throw in an image for that real quick. So all you have to do, very simple, choose image. I've already downloaded an image, so I'm going to go find it. So I have it on my desktop. So go find it, hit open, and it's on there. So now I have this image of Canvas that'll show up. If you want to change it, you can go back in here, click on the three dots. Go to choose image, you can re-upload something else. If you decide you don't want an image, you just hit remove image and it'll go away. And then you have the option again to add something else in there. For name, so name, this one is Canvas Basics and Assessments. This is what will show up as the main thing. So if I go to my dashboard again real quick. So the name is the top line. It's the one that usually has some kind of color to it. I did change some of them. I changed like my PNPS one, so that's a much more basic one for my freshmen. The others were already long enough and close enough to what they were. I didn't bother with it. But whatever you change that name to is what's going to show up on that top box there. This bottom one, the course code, because this isn't an official Wentzville course and it's not tied to SIS in any kind of way, it doesn't have any kind of fancy code to it. But any class that you're teaching will have one. And I remember being told early on, I don't know if it's still true or not, but not to touch this course code. And so I would just recommend stay away from touching it because it's really not going to do you any good other than changing what you see down here. But from my understanding, they use that course code either to help try to find things if you need help with your Canvas course, like something's broken and need to get into it. Or it might have something to do with syncing to SIS. So that SIS knows what course to grab whenever it's looking in to import grades. So I would recommend just strongly not touching that. Leave the course code alone. We're going to skip the time zone part. There's no reason to change that. For participation, so the default is set to term, and the term is set by the district. They usually set the term, from, in this case, August 1st. So a little bit before school starts to June 30th. That way students have about a month. If for whatever reason they have to make up final exams or things like that, they've got that window there so that it doesn't just shut them out. So that's the default. You can't touch the term. If you want to change this for whatever reason, you can go from term to course. When you do that, that opens up the start and end dates, and they start out as blank. If you leave them as blank, again, to my understanding, I haven't tested this yet, but to my understanding, that just means there is no start or end date. So students will have complete and total access to the course as long as it is open. So they could even go in, if you have them as a freshman, you have the course date set open, they could go in as a senior and go submit a whole bunch of assignments, and it's going to pop up on your to-do list. So I probably wouldn't recommend leaving them blank, but if for whatever reason you need to extend something for a student, maybe a kid had some kind of extenuating circumstances and they say, well, can I work for the first semester of next school year and get some stuff turned in, and you wanted to open that up as an available or an option. You can go in the course, set the end date to whatever you want it to be, and they have that option to do that, and then you submit a grade change and all that fun stuff. But whichever way you have it set, you also have these restrict students from viewing options. Restrict them from viewing before the term date or after the course end date. Restricting before the course term date, that seems kind of silly because they're not even going to have access to Canvas before then. Though if you were to make it the course date, that could come into play. And then restrict after the term date. So students by default will be able to view any of the content. So they could go back and maybe look at some notes or things like that where it's not an assignment or something where it's going to potentially lock them out of. So maybe they took your regular history class and then they went on to take AP history and they wanted to look at the notes previously that you had to help with a project or something. They'll be able to do that. If you don't want them to look us up because maybe you have things that you don't want your old students sharing with the new ones, then you can lock that down. But that's what those two are. So students will always have options to view certain things in there unless you check one of those boxes. Default due time. So on every assignment that you create, there was that default due date and a time associated with it. If you don't like it to be 11:59 p.m., you can actually change that. It's not super customizable. You can only do it in increments of an hour. So maybe you want it to be due at the end of the school day. You can't make it set to be due at 2:20 or 2:30 or 2:25 or whatever time that school gets out for you. You might want to choose 3. And so that means that now everything is now officially due at 3. So it does give them a little bit of extra time, but there is, again, not a way to actually change that to a certain minute value. So they just go by hour increments. And this is just something that would save you a little bit of time if that's something you change. Language. So if you want to, maybe you teach a foreign language and you want to set your Canvas course to that language, you can do that. So if I wanted to make it, let's say French, and I want it to be like France French as opposed to Canada French, you could do that. And then everything that is Canvas defaulted, so like all of these terms over here, any kind of directions that just come up automatically, all of this stuff here in the settings, after you hit save, is going to be French. So I'm going to change that back real quick because I don't know my French from high school. But yeah, so if you want to, your advanced foreign language courses, that might be a good option. If you have a large course, so if you've combined a whole bunch of different sections of things into one at the beginning, so instead of having like 3 or 4 different hours, you just condense it in one course. You can choose to launch BGrader filtered by student group. So instead of automatically filtering by just everybody and giving you that whole list, it'll automatically go to one of your student groups, and then you can change groups from there as you go to grade stuff. Again, it's up to you if you want to check that or not. It saves you a grand total of about 3 seconds of clicking that you could do otherwise. Enable course grading scheme. That's just if you want to set, what an A or B or C or whatever is. License doesn't matter. Visibility. So the default is set to course. And so that's just the people within your course. But your other 2 options are institution and public. If you ever forget what they are, you can click the little question mark here. Institution, so anybody within Wentzville School District will be able to view that course. So maybe you have a student who wants to learn the information in your class, but they're not signed up for your class, and you're okay with them being on your Canvas. And you don't want to add them as a student or whoever for whatever reason. You could potentially give them the link for your class, set your visibility to institution, they'll be able to see it. Same thing with public, literally anybody with the URL, and they might probably still have to have a Canvas account would be my guess. But they do not have to be within Wentzville, and they'll be able to see your course there. You can also customize that a little bit, so you can make it so that people can only see, maybe I want the public to just be able to see my syllabus, but I don't want to be able to see the rest of the stuff. Or the course files too. I can have that set to do the same thing too. For the format, you can just check this box. It's really doesn't really do anything. It just kind of tells people this is what the course is, whether it's an on-campus one, online, or blended. We'll leave these checked again. The offline course allows counts it to be downloaded and viewed offline. I don't see a reason to uncheck that. Mastery paths, we'll get there. I think that's next week. But that's all the general course detail stuff. For sections, this one shows all the different sections that you have in your course. If you have where you did combine all of those hours into one, you'll see all of them listed up here as each individual hour. But you can also add new ones. So maybe you have a lot of students who need modified tests in your class. And so whenever you go to assign tests, and you want only the modified students to see the modified test, you go to select whenever the assignment is due and stuff by, okay, I know this student, Joey needs one, and Sarah needs one, and this, and you have to do that every single time. You can actually streamline that process by creating a section. So let's say I want to call this my modified test section. So modified test, we'll add the section, and now that's a section in there. So if I go now to the People tab, and so this is going to show all of the people within this course, and so I can scroll down to the students who are in there. So in this course, like, oh look, I see this person's only spent 33 minutes in the whole course, so maybe they need modified tests or whatever. So you can go to that person, select the 3 dots, and then there is an Edit Sections button. So if you go there, you can start typing in the name that you want to do, or you can hit the browse if you don't remember the exact name. And so modified test, it shows right now there are 0 people. I'm going to select that. And now it's showing me the different sections that they're going to be. So they're in the whole course as just an entire thing. And they're also now part of the modified test thing. So now if I hit the update button, and then let's go ahead and add this person for good measure, just so that there's somebody else in there. So we'll add them to modified test. So now both of those students are in that test group. So if I wanted to assign something just to them, so if I have a modified test and I want just them to do it, on that assignment due date for the assigned to, if you start typing modified test, that section is going to pop up. You click it, and it's going to automatically assign it just to those students, and it's going to exclude all the other ones. So that is an option that you've got there for that. So that's course sections, and again, right now it's showing that there are 2 users in there. Navigation is also useful. This is all the stuff that pops up on the left here. So this is just you being able to drag and drop where you want things. So maybe I want Studio to be up a little higher, so I can move it. Let's say I want it between discussion and grades, so I'm going to put it there. And now it's going to be there. If I don't want students to be able to see that section for whatever reason, like I don't want them to look at the grades section because the grade in Canvas is always different than the grade in SIS, and I don't want people getting confused or thinking they have a different grade than they actually do, I can take that and I can drag it on down into the bottom part. Everything down here is going to be disabled. So you can move things by clicking and dragging, or if you just click on it, you have 2 options. Where it disables, which is kind of silly if it's already in the disabled group and it does that, or you can do the move. So you can either decide to place it at the top, you can place it at the bottom, or you can specify before or after where exactly it goes. But since this is within my hidden group, only the hidden options are going to show up. So if I wanted to move it back here, now it's available again. I could hit move, and then now I have all of the currently visible stuff there too. So you can move stuff around for what you want students to see. You can hide certain things from them if you don't want them to see it. Mostly the hiding thing just keeps it clean and easy for them, so that they're not having to sort through big blue button and new analytics and all this other stuff that doesn't matter to them. Apps, if you need them. So there are some in here, like, well, first of all, there's a lot. But there are some, I think one of the more common ones is Edpuzzle. There's a way to integrate some of those things into Canvas. Sometimes these things work really well. Sometimes they work like garbage. If you want to know how to integrate an app in there, you can look it up. It's an advanced thing. You can ask your tech coach, but they all work a little bit differently. So there's no like, well, let's go over this one as an example. They are all different. So talk to your tech coach about that. Feature options. This is some advanced things. If you want to go on there and turn things on and off, great, go for it. And then integrations, we don't have integrations. Last thing in course settings is this stuff here on the right. So you got a few options. One is share to commons. So share to commons, this will share to the Canvas Commons, which is kind of like the big repository for where all of maybe different courses, different assessments, pages, whatever, anything in Canvas that other teachers or instructors want to share with each other, they can put into Commons for others to use and copy and do whatever it is they need to do. So you can share your entire course to Commons if you click this button here, and it'll go through the steps there. Course statistics, if you click it, it's going to show you a few things. So it'll show you just the totals for everything. So how many discussions we have, how many assignments there are, different assignment groups you've got posted in there, a whole bunch of different things there. Assignments shows the different types of assignments that have been there, how many submissions there are. So just kind of neat things to do. In your students, it's going to show a list of your students and the date that they last logged in. You can get more detailed information if you click on them, but that's just a real quick way to kind of see who most recently logged in or not. And then file storage just shows you how much file storage you've used in your Canvas course. So some of it's kind of nifty to know. Course calendar, all that is just a link to go to the same thing that's over here on the left. I'm really not sure why course calendar is in here. Conclude this course, we'll end the course. Don't push that button. And then there's import course content. So this is really, really useful at the beginning of the year. So if you have already taught a course in Canvas, it's set up the way you want, or maybe you just need to make some minor tweaks to it and you don't want to just redo the whole thing, you can import that course. So if you go to content type, there's a lot of different things here. You're going to go to copy a Canvas course. Then you can either search for a course by going through the entire list of all of the courses you've ever taught. It's organized by year first, and then alphabetically from there. Or if you don't want to do that, you can start typing in a name. So maybe I want to copy one of my old biology class. So I could go there, click on biology, and it's going to bring it in. So let's say I wanted to do my Physics 1 from this year. You can choose to either select all the content, so it is just complete copy paste of the course, or you can select specific content if you want. So you can go through and you can select, I want these modules, I want these quizzes, I want these things. Usually it's easier though just to do all content and then just get rid of the stuff that you don't want. Then some adjust events and due dates. This is super, super, super nice. So what you need to do here is you want to look at the due date of the very first thing in your course that you're copying. So if it's from a previous year, you want to make sure that that previous year matches up with whatever it was. Then the change to, so what is the due date that you actually want it to start on. So maybe it was starting on August 22nd. I want it to start tomorrow, so I'm going to do that. And then when you hit import, it's going to take all of the due dates and move them by that many days or weeks or however it is Canvas decides to do it. And it's usually very, very close. I only have to normally adjust due dates, short of, snow days and whatnot, by just a couple days here or there. Weekends can sometimes, mess with that. But it is a very large time saver to do that. So you can import one of your old Canvas courses. There are a bunch of different options here. On the previous page, there was export course content. So if we go there real quick. So export course content, Commons kind of makes this obsolete a little bit. But maybe you wanted to export something because you're going somewhere else that uses Blackboard or some other LMS. So you could export either the entire course or individual quizzes. Or maybe you don't want to share it to Commons and you want it to share it to just individual people. Although you could just do the send to button. So I'm still not entirely sure what the benefit of this would be at this point. But anyway, you create export. It'll create the export. It'll email you a link to where you go to get it. And then you can either send it to yourself, or if you are sending it to somebody else, you can just email it to them. then they can go to import course content, select whichever one of these. So in that case, it would be Canvas course export package. Or maybe you had somebody send you a Blackboard course, or you found one online that somebody sent you. You could import that in there too. If you still got your old Moodle hanging around, you can add that in. It's been dead for years, but maybe you have it and you missed it, and you want to bring it back. You can do that too. So that's import content. And then the last is validate links in content. So if you click on this one, it's going to check all of the links within Canvas to check to see if they are broken, or if it thinks they're broken. So you hit Start Link Validation, and this is going to take a little bit of time, so I'm going to pause the video. And what would normally take a few minutes happened in the blink of an eye. So with this, it shows that no broken links were found, so that means that everything in my course should be up and running and ready to go if people click on it. Now, this is only checking things within Canvas itself. So if you have a Google Doc assignment embedded within your course and there are links within that Google Doc, it's not going to check those. It's only going to check the things, maybe you have something in the directions on the Canvas assignment part that's linked there. It's only going to check those things. If there were broken links, it would list them down here so you can click on them, you can go to them, and you can see, is this actually broken? And then you know where to go and what needs to be fixed and all of that good stuff. So that is settings within Canvas.